So, this is the time of year where things happen, contracts are signed, all these sorts of things. Let's move ahead into the Formula One silly season. So, the drivers so far that have been confirmed, we've got Ferrari, Sebastian Vettel and Kimi Räikkönen both locked in to the team. Force India, Nico Hülkenberg only. Sergio Perez, though, we think is pretty much a given at this point.
Yeah, it's pretty much given.
Yeah, so we won't probably talk about him too much. A McLaren Honda, Fernando Alonso in there, but nobody beside him. We'll talk about who could possibly end up there. Mercedes have got Rosberg and Hamilton locked in and ready to go. Red Bull have got Daniel Ricciardo and Max Verstappen, and Toro Rosso have got Carlos Sainz in there as well, but they still don't have the second driver. So let's have a look at the drivers who are now off contract for this year. And of course, the big two talking points we mentioned, of course, Sergio Perez. He's probably going to Force India. There's nowhere else better for him to go. But the two big people who are under scrutiny are Jenson Button and Felipe Massa. Interestingly, the media consensus is that Button will race another year, but that Massa will actually retire at the end of this year, which is interesting. Possibly a bit of pro-British bias. They say, Jenson Button will keep going on for a while, possibly even taking Felipe Massa's seat at Williams. What do you think about that?
Well, just generally about Felipe Massa, as we said earlier in the podcast, he hasn't actually had a points finish in 4 events. And I honestly don't think Massa's enjoying it anymore. Just his attitude when he got out of the car at Hockenheim, he just wasn't that thrilled. So, and also when you flip the table and look at Jensen, he's a driver who just wants to really enjoy his final years in Formula One. He knows he's not going to win a world championship again, so he's just there just to enjoy it. So, I think, especially everything we've heard from Claire Williams, I think the deal is it's basically imminent that Button will go back to Williams alongside
They seem to be
Valtteri
wanting
Bottas.
it. I don't think, I think McLaren as well would like the space made available for some Stoffel Van Dorn. It wouldn't be surprising. Jenson Button is still very fit, of course. Even though he is in his late 30s, this will be, if he keeps going, it'll be his 18th season of Formula One. But so he's pretty much a Russell Ingall.
Yeah, pretty much.
Of Formula One so far. Massa, on the other hand, has petered out a bit in certain things. He looks like, we could argue he's never driven the same since his accident in 2009. He looked like a new man when he came into the team in 2014, but as he probably hasn't exactly overperformed with the car either. Valtteri Bottas has been keeping him in check fairly nicely. Bottas is probably going to stay at Williams.
Yeah, Bottas will probably stay at Williams. That's really the only place, basically the same as Perez, the only place he can really go. So I think Bottas will probably sign a 1-year deal with Williams and just see what happens in the 2017
And that's because Ferrari, someone interestingly, their position has changed possibly with Mascioti. It was, I think, at the moment, Ferrari are pretty much, if it's not Hamilton, it's not Verstappen, and they can afford to wait for Verstappen. That's a scary thing. He'll be in Formula One for the next 15 years, at least. If it's not those two, they're not interested, which is why they've gone with Kimi Räikkönen for yet another year. Kimi Räikkönen also.
Yeah, well, Kimi's actually done a pretty alright job.
Kimi Räikkönen is a Jason Bright, I'd say.
Yeah, but he's done a pretty alright job so far this season. Especially when Vettel's had problems, he's really picked up the points for Ferrari for the constructors' title.
Yeah, he's been a very good understudy, effectively. So of course, if Felipe Massa does leave, there's been a couple of chat among fans. He might possibly even go to IndyCar. Him with Chip Ganassi or Tony Kanaan would be quite the sight to see, and it'd be nice to see him get some recognition there. Of course, looking down the list as well, Roman Grosjean and Esteban Gutierrez, the future of... Well, actually, we'll go through this by team, which is probably not the... I've got the drivers up there, but we'll go through it by team. Let's look... we'll go back to the constructors' standings. Let's have a look down. Toro Rosso. We've got Carlos Sainz locked in, but we don't think you'd have to say Danny Kvyat. It would be very unlikely he gets taken out.
I think he's done. As we said in the podcast, the best thing for Daniel is just... basically go back to Russia, for a year, just clear his mind, and just figure out, what he should do next. That's what we said previously on the podcast. In terms of who's replacing him, it's almost safe to say that will be Pierre Gasly, who's done a pretty alright season in GP2.
Currently second in is this his first season?
I think it might be his second season. But yeah, he's certainly
he certainly showed that
good.
he's strong enough, and Kvyat at the moment is in a terrible form slump, which is of course you don't want to see any driver in that. But yeah, probably will still be driving for them at the end of the summer break. But yeah, at the end of the season, not likely. Best chances for him is probably to go with S&P Racing, who are in IndyCar and in WEC, probably WEC more likely. They're currently fielding Michaela Lotion in IndyCar. We've talked as well, of course, about how Russia, one of the big powerhouses, and we'll just jump ahead to Renault. Renault's future in the sport. They've lost Esteban Ocon to Manor. It could be very unlikely.
It's interesting, especially with Manor at the moment. Like, on my notes, I've got if I can just find it, Sorokin versus Ocon for the second seat. Who will prevail? That's a really big question, and I think it's really, really close at the moment because Sorokin, even though he's not on loan from Renault to Manor, he is currently first in GP2.
Yes.
And if he wins the title, Renault will be under severe pressure to give him the seat. But then again, Ocon is also pretty hot property, as we said earlier in the podcast, and Renault, they'll proudly take him under.
Yeah, it's going to be a fight between those two to see who takes it up.
The next few months will decide it because, right now, it is knife edge.
And it depends as well on how aggressive Mercedes are with maintaining that contract because, of course, Ocon is a junior driver. Sorokin, you have to say, first off with Renault, don't think Jolyon Palmer will be there next year.
I think the one...
He's underperformed. Yeah. He's Kevin Magnussen has had him on the ropes all season.
If he got the points in Hungary, we could be talking about this differently.
Yes.
All this could be flipped on its head if he got points in Hungary and didn't spin out.
Yeah.
But unfortunately he did. We are talking about this, so his future in F1 is basically limited. Kevin Magnussen, we really know how good he is. Give him a good car, he will get podiums consistently. So, yeah, Kevin Magnussen will stay. It's just the big thing about whether or not Ocon or Sorokin will partner him. Because, we did really say this last night. If Renault would love it if they could have all three. Renault would love that. But no, they've got two, so they're going to have to make a really, really hard choice. And this can make or break both of their careers.
And the thing is as well, Renault are going to be very good next year. I'd say once they got money in the car, they're going to be in the midfield like that. They've got one of the better engines. I think they're probably...
And then they will want to really march up.
And they'll need good drivers. They'll need good drivers to make the car look good. Of those two drivers, the best ones they've got on the books at the moment are Kevin Magnussen and, of course, Sorokin, who is their test driver, or effectively fourth driver, behind Ocon, who's been pinched by Mercedes and Manor, possibly in a sort of a preemptive strike on that front. So, yeah, that'll be very interesting. So, we've got... At the moment, it's going to be Kevin Magnussen or Ocon / Sorokin.
Sorokin.
And that's going to be the battle at Manor as well. Yeah. Him, Ocon, King is another.
Manor are in a very interesting position. I'd honestly say, we have said this in the podcast in the past.
Particularly because it's one of the weird times when Manor becomes lucrative. But the thing is that they are now effectively the stepping stone to a Mercedes seat.
So, basically, with Manor at the moment, they do have Jordan Keane as a reserve driver. He is in his second season. He is doing pretty all right. He's about fifth or sixth. Really, he's not I don't think he's actually won a race in GP2 this year, but he's consistent. But he's been getting podiums. So, we did say this about the future of Harriento a couple of podcasts ago. That for Keane's sake, he shouldn't go into the second banner. But come 2017, he'll be in that, honestly, if Keane stays another season in GP2, he's almost certain to be a real strong championship contender.
Yeah.
And if Banner, finds someone else, they could keep them for a second season. It really depends on what Verline and Mercedes are doing, and it looks like Verline is going to stay with Manor for about 1 or 2 seasons. So
yeah. It's going to be the holding seat until Rosberg's contract retires or Hamilton decides to leave.
Yeah. So
neither of which look like. I think Rosberg and Hamilton will probably both stay with. If anything, Rosberg might possibly leave if he's unable to win a championship.
He's been with Mercedes for a very, very long time.
No, he's one of their loyal customers. He's been with them since 2010. He's developed the car.
Before that, he was basically at Williams, basically nowhere in the running order. So, I'd have to say that Manor are almost sort of forced to put King alongside Verline at Manor next year. In terms of the other drivers available, they, especially in GB2 at the moment, they've got Giovinazzi and Norman Nanto and Mitch Evans. So those three are the drivers that are not really specifically tied to any team at the moment, but there are a bit of rumours with Giovinazzi and basically Toro Rosso and Ferrari and the like. There is a bit of rumours about that. So I honestly think that Jordan King will be ready to, will be the only real good option for Man at the moment. Like, it won't be the best option, but it's an option that they'll sort of be forced to take.
Yeah, that'll be very interesting. Finally, as well, Sauber. I think we've pretty much gone through. Or Haas, we've said that Grosjean will stay.
Yeah, Grosjean will stay.
Gutierrez is under pressure to perform.
Yeah. The only,
there's nobody else other than Rossi.
There is Rossi that they could sign, but, as we said,
he's playing hard to get at the moment.
He's playing a bit of hard to get. The only good, the best candidate other than Rossi for us at the moment is the Monaco driver of Leclerc, the Ferrari Academy driver from Monaco.
But he's only in GP3, so he might need a bit of polishing.
Well, he is in GP3, but he is winning the GP3 title on debut. So,
and you've seen people jump,
and without a lot of competition as well. I think there's only Albion from Thailand who's sort of up there with him, but even then he's a bit to the side. So he's having a fantastic season in GP3. So they might be left with no other option but to go with him. Norman Nanto, you could sort of see he's French, so they could go with him. Mitch Evans as well. I honestly think because Mitch Evans has been in GP2 for so long, this is his last chance to get into Formula 1. I'm saying this now, if Mitch Evans doesn't get a seat in 2017, his F1 career is done, even before it started, which is a real shame because, he has finished right up there for so many seasons in GP2 now. It's about, he really does deserve, a seat in Formula 1, but because of, all the pay drivers and money and finance and just how F1 is, I honestly don't think he's going to get it.
Finally, Sauber, of course, it's been quite clear for a couple of weeks that one of them will have to go, particularly after the collision in Monaco. Considering the backing is from the Swedes, Marcus Ericsson is probably the person.
I'd say
Felipe Nasser looked alright at the start of last year, but both of them have just looked pretty obvious pay drivers.
Even though it's a bit hard to sort of, call who's better, I think Ericsson is the better driver over Nasser. I honestly think that.
So, they're currently facing, they're going to have to sack one of them. Both say it's Nasser, even if not a skill, just the backing and the where the money is.
A name I've got of who will replace Nasser is Rafael Marciello, who's actually a former test driver of the team, but they had to cull him because of the finances. And he's having a real strong season in GP2, so, I can sort of see him getting the seat. He's known to Sauber, he's a good driver, and he can be one who... He can be one who takes the team forward and will make the investors happy, which is what Sauber really need to do to secure their long-term future. They really need to make the investors happy, and I do think that their former driver of Marciello is the answer to that issue.
Yeah, for a bit of a joke, I'd probably say Pastor Maldonado could end up there if he managed to find some money. There are some other Maldonado rumours, which I'll talk about a bit later on in the show. So that's pretty much all the silly season done. We sort of predicted a bit of a clean out, plenty of rookies coming in, which is probably something that Formula One has needed for a while.
Yeah, like, I mean,
there's three generations on the grid.
With rookies that are coming in, like, it's really setting up an exciting future for F1. And like, you can sort of theorise at the moment, who's going to be fighting for championships in like 2022. It's actually a pretty exciting time for Formula One.
It'll be interesting as well. All these rookies with a new car should be quite exciting.